Meanwhile, some Christian groups have travelled to Bethlehem for Christmas to show solidarity with the people of Palestine. The pilgrimage of solidarity is organised by Kairos Southern Africa in collaboration with Kairos Palestine and the South African Council of Churches. The South African Council of Churches Vice President, Reverend Frank Chikane, joins us now from Jerusalem. Reverend, very good evening. Thank you so much for speaking to us. Just give us some insight into the purpose of your trip and what you found since you travelled to Jerusalem.
Thank you very much, and good evening to those who are watching your program. I'm no more Deputy President of the SACC. I'm former Deputy President, and I'm also former moderator of the Churches Commission on International Affairs, and I've dealt with of the World Council, and I've dealt with these challenges from that perspective. The war broke out here in Gaza, and it has spread to the West Bank. The levels of killings in the West Bank have increased dramatically, and the occupying force has got all the powers on it to do whatever they want to do with those they are occupying whilst the world is watching. And the genocide that's happening in Gaza is just unbelievable. And any human being would agree that this is completely unacceptable. And so we had calls from Palestine to say, especially in Jerusalem, Bethlehem, and we lost contact with Gaza, to say, please do whatever is possible to help us. At best, be with us. And so we made a decision that will organize a global church leaders delegation to go to Palestine, Israel, and also try to get to Gaza, to be with the people there, and to go to support them in their pain and suffering. I mean, they just told us today, they are dealing with people who are injured, who can move. They are dealing with people who need medication, who can get the medication. They are dealing with deaths every day. And so we felt it was critical to come here, and from a Christian perspective, we are a body of Christ globally. And if one part suffers, the rest of us suffer. And that's why we felt we must come here and be with the people. And you should feel it when you are here, how painful it is to watch people being killed at the rate at which they are being killed. So that's why we are here. We've got people from Latin America, from the USA, the greater part of the delegation, it's leaders from South Africa, and there are more who are going to be joining us to be with us.
Now, Reverend, one of the issues that's come out is that much of the information that's coming out of Gaza is polarized. Does this afford you an opportunity to go into Gaza and relay what's actually happening on the ground with a new lens or a non-polarized lens, if you will?
No, there is no polarization here. I think people are just looking for polarization. The reality is that Israel has been occupying Palestine for the last 56 years. The world knows this, and there have been killings by soldiers. There are checkpoints and controls every corner of the West Bank. And the world knows this. There is apartheid between the River Jordan to the sea in the Mediterranean Sea. We just listened to a young Christian this evening talking about my grandparents and great-grandparents were here. But today, I have no citizenship. I've lost it. I'm a foreigner in the land of my birth. The world knows all this. And so there's no polarization. There's only a clear indication that they are occupied people who have no rights, who were born occupied and are adults, and they are still occupied. And the world knows it. The UN made a decision in 1947 to partition Palestine. And after partitioning it, they gave one part to Israel and gave them all the powers. And the part on the Palestinians has never been recognized by Western countries, including the United States, as a state. And so the solution was let them have separate states if they can't be together. And up to now, the Palestinian state has not been recognized by most European countries and the West. The same people who talk about balancing things, etc. The reality is that you can't blockade Gaza for 16 years. And people must get permission from you every day to go to work. They must get permission from you to visit their relatives. They must get permission from you to travel internationally. You remember Archbishop Desmond Tutu, whilst he was alive, after visiting Gaza, he said this is an open-air prison for 2.3 million people. The world knows that. And they did nothing. And that's why the Palestinians feel nobody cares for them. And that's why we are here. Because we feel they must know there are people in the world who care. Especially those of us who are Christian. We care about part of the body of Christ, but we care about the people of God. All of them. Doesn't matter what religion they belong to. And so we have met some church leaders today. We'll be meeting church groups tomorrow and families of the affected on both sides, because people are victims of this occupation and they are victims of an apartheid system. And so even when Israelites are affected, it's because of the injustice that is happening. If you end the injustice, there's no need for the Israelites and the Palestinians to fight each other. In fact, before the UN committed this gross act of starting the genocide here, the Jews and the Arabs were living together here in Palestine. They were not fighting each other. This is the creation of a colonial list system that decided will make a decision irrespective of the people who are in that place. And I think people need to face the truth. There are Christians in South Africa who say, yeah, Hamas is not recognizing Israel, that's why. And I say, but has Israel recognized this Palestinian state? They need to be treated equally. Recognize the Palestinian state, recognize Israel, and let them live together as neighbors. If you can't, then you must go back to 1947 and let them live together. And they have been living together before there was an intervention by the colonialists and the imperialists.
Reverend Frank Chikane, I appreciate your time, sir. Former South African Council of Churches Vice President, speaking to us from Jerusalem. He's part of a delegation of Christian leaders that have travelled in solidarity with the people of Palestine. And that's where we leave it for this evening. I'm Hugo Robertica. Look forward to the pleasure of your company at the very same time tomorrow. Until then.